This is a time-lapse demo of a rough clay buildup of my male mannequin. Before starting each session, always make sure you have your reference in front of you, your calipers and tools at the ready. Start off by ripping off a nice chunk of clay and knead it with your fingers. Get a feel for your clay before you begin. Start off with bigger pieces of clay to quickly get some meat on the bones. Don't be concerned with perfection during this stage. Just slowly build up the forms. I don't always start off building up the torso. Sometimes I start off with the head or sometimes the feet. There isn't a specific starting point you need to begin every sculpture at. Whatever works for you or what you feel like at the time, there's no right or wrong way. Double check your work as you go with your calipers and reference. You don't want to get too far ahead only to realize after hours of work your proportions are wrong and you have to go back and redo it. Continue to build your forms by adding pieces of clay here and there. Remember to keep it loose. It's good practice to always be kneading some clay in your hands during the sculpting process. This can help stimulate your creative juices and keep you in the flow. Remember to keep it loose. At this stage, we're less concerned with blending and smoothing and focus more on forms as a whole. Spin your figure around as you work. Having a lazy Susan helps, but you'll be fine if you don't have one. As you sculpt, fine tweak your armature as you need to. Sometimes it'll get tweaked in the process, so you'll have to set it right and take it to where it needs to be. I didn't create a foot armature with epoxy this time, but for beginners, it can help stabilize and ground your sculpture. During this rough build-up stage, I jump back and forth between areas constantly, building up the form slowly, working all around the figure. Every now and then, get up and take a step or two back to view your progress from a distance. Sometimes we get too caught up on an area and forget to look at the whole. This was filmed in 2 sessions. I got in about 40 minutes the first night when the battery on my camera died. So I filmed the second part the next morning. You eagle-eyed people might have noticed the change in the lighting. Up until this point, I've been mainly using just my hands and fingers. The other tool I like to use a lot during this stage is a large spoon tool. It really helps getting into hard to reach areas and great for smoothing and blending. I can't stress enough the importance of working from all angles. This is a three-dimensional piece you're working on, so make it a habit to look at it and work it from different views. One mistake many students make in the beginning is overbuilding an area too quickly, which then throws off their perception and proportions. If you find it difficult to visualize and render these more complex forms, such as the torso or pelvis, just start off with a box. As your sculpture takes form, you can go back and refine these areas more and make it more on model. Calipers. You'll hear me say this a lot. Reference and calipers. Your two best friends in this class. Back and forth, here and there. As the forms start to take shape, I will start to blend and refine them a bit more, but still keeping it fairly loose. Working with clay can be very therapeutic. There's just something about squishing clay between your fingers. Speaking of which, for fingers, I spread the wires out at the wrist and roll little worms and delicately cover up the wires. The clay is not going to want to stay on the wire. With the help of a tool, delicately work the fingers from both sides at a time. Once you are happy with the forms, use a plier to bring the wires back together. Sandwich the wires with small pieces of clay to form the hand and palm. I hope this demo was helpful. Remember, There are no hard rules when it comes to sculpting. It really is just about putting in the time. So enjoy the process and most importantly, have fun.